What's up, guys? My name's Christian, and today we're going to be covering once again the topic of abuse. And I said it in my last video that I was going to continue this conversation anyway because it's one that needs to be continued. But you guys, the support on my last video about abuse portrayed in the media was just overwhelming, and it's continuing to grow. So I'm so thankful for all of your support, and I'm glad you guys are taking a liking to me starting this discussion and continuing this discussion, and that's going to continue to be done on this channel because it's something that affects millions of people and it needs to be discussed, and it's not being discussed enough, as I've said multiple times. So we're going to continue the discussion, and today we're going to be talking about drug abuse and addiction and some common misconceptions behind them. So the first misconception is that drug addiction and drug abuse are always a choice. And I can kind of see the point behind this misconception because taking the drug for the first time is often a person's choice, even though it is by no means always a person's choice. I can make an entire video on that. But the addiction that comes afterwards is not the person's choice. The drug abuse that comes afterwards is not often a person's choice. When you take the drug for the first time, it offsets something that was already dormant in you and has been passed down from generation to generation in your family often, and is something that is literally just in your DNA. Addiction is more than something that just happens. For a lot of people, they have addictive personalities, and it's in their DNA to become addicted to whatever drug you take when you take it for the first time, instead of a person who might not have it in their DNA and they might not become addicted. Not saying they can't after the first time, but they are less likely, much less likely to become addicted after the first time. But anyway, my first point is that it's not a choice to become addicted usually. It's not a choice to abuse drugs. Even if the first taking of the drug was a choice, the addiction and the drug abuse are things that are in your DNA, and your brain is hardwired to seek out that drug again once you've taken it once because of a mental disorder, which addiction has been classified as, which I will get into in this next upcoming misconception. And leading into my next misconception, it is that drug abuse and drug addiction don't come from mental disorders. And of course, as you guys probably know, I'm going to say that nothing could be further from the truth. And the thing is about drug abuse and addiction is that it's dormant until you take that first drug. And once you take that first drug, it becomes, well, the opposite of dormant. It becomes prevalent in your life. And it's kind of like depression for a lot of people. Not all people, but for a lot of people. For people with depression, it's often an event that sets off their depression. And then whatever, uh, whether it's in their DNA, whether it's an imbalance of chemicals in their brain, that first bout of depression sets that off, and then it continues as a cycle that is often chronic, meaning it can't be cured. So, in that kind of sense, drug addiction and abuse are often things that are dormant until you take the first drug, but they are still mental disorders that, even though they can be treated, that inner demon, I guess, of the disorder can't really be done away with completely, in the sense that your brain is never going to become addicted if you take the drug again. So my main point is that drug abuse and addiction are indeed mental disorders and not just something that pops up for everybody, at least. And the third misconception is that people who abuse drugs and are addicted to drugs have a good time. And let me just tell you that I've seen people who have abused drugs and are caught in the demon of addiction, and I've seen them on the floor vomiting up black bile because they have nothing else in their body to vomit up. They're convulsing, they're foaming at the mouth, they look like skeletons. They're in misery, they're crying, they're shaking, and they're just in horrible, horrible condition, and often near death. And the misconception that they're having a good time is so far from the truth. Addiction is, it's, people do it more than once because it's just that, an addiction, not because they enjoy it, but because it becomes what your brain needs in order to feel anything, any kind of joy, any kind of happiness. When addiction takes over, only that drug, at least it seems to the person, that only that drug can provide that. And it's not a means of enjoyment, it's a means of getting through to the next day. And people who are addicted do not enjoy it. They have to worry about the things I just mentioned. They have to worry about the legal issues of their problems. They have to worry about so many things every day of their life. And all it takes is one overdose, one taking of the drug that one taking of the drug and it's over. Maybe it wasn't even an overdose, maybe your body just couldn't handle it at the time. But anyway, all it takes is one taking of that drug at any time and it's over. And they have to live in fear of that every day. People who take drugs are caught in, I guess you could say, a physical prison, in the sense that they're caught in the prison of the their mind being addicted and their body being addicted to the drug. So they are very literally caught in a hellish prison, and they're caught in it every day, and they're caught in it every waking moment of their day. And it's not something people seek out to do for enjoyment. Even if they try to portray that on the surface, it's not deep down. There are there are internal problems that they're not expressing. Something else is going on, but people do not get addicted to drugs and abuse drugs for sheer enjoyment alone. They might get pleasure out of it in that moment, but that's not that's not the reason why they do it. They do it just to get by to the next day. I don't know if I made sense in that last part, but you guys get my point, I'm sure. My camera ran out of memory, so I had to redo this last take, but it was just saying that I hope you guys learned something about a few of the misconceptions about drug abuse and drug addiction, and I hope this teaches you not to make those misconceptions and contribute to them, because they're horrible misconceptions that make the lives of people who are suffering from addiction and drug abuse just so much harder. So I hope you guys do not contribute to that, and I hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next one. God bless, guys.